The Arctic. Oh, the desolate Arctic. It's a chilling graveyard of lost things, isn't it? Ships swallowed whole by the unforgiving ice. Civilizations buried deep beneath centuries of silent snow. And flights. Flights that just vanish without a trace. For 40 long years, Flight AE-17 was one such haunting mystery. A passenger plane that simply disappeared on Christmas Eve of 1976. Just gone, leaving behind only whispers, chilling winds carrying the unanswered questions of what might have happened. No wreckage, no desperate distress signal, just a gaping, heartbreaking absence. Until now, when a satellite scan, a cold, unblinking eye in the sky, picked up a metallic anomaly deep within the Alaskan ice. Researchers, their hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation, believed they had finally found the lost aircraft. But as the excavation began, a sense of unease settled over them. Something wasn't right. Strange, inexplicable patterns in the ice. Tracks where no human foot had ever dared to tread. And then, the eyes, watching from the frozen expanse, piercing, intelligent. The truth hidden within that plane wasn't just a simple story of survival. Oh no, it was something far stranger. Something that defied all logic, rewriting the very boundaries between humanity and nature. What the team discovered next, it didn't just solve a decades-old mystery. It changed everything. Robert Miller, a man whose face bore the map of 58 hard Alaskan winters, stood at the edge of his Anchorage office window, watching the snow drift lazily past the glass. For more than 3 decades, he had dedicated his life to studying Alaska's brutal wilderness. But nothing, absolutely nothing in his extensive career had prepared him for the satellite images now spread across his desk. The metallic anomaly, detected by military satellites in January of 2016, had initially seemed like just another routine investigation. However, as he studied the preliminary scans, a bone-chilling premonition, colder than any winter wind, ran down his spine. Dr. Miller? Jessica Chen, his usually unflappable research assistant, appeared in the doorway, her composed demeanor now tinged with an almost electric excitement. The thermal imaging results just came in. You need to see this. Together, they leaned over the new data. The shape, it was unmistakable now. The distinct outline of an aircraft's tail fin, buried deep within the ice at a precise 40-degree angle. Robert's hands trembled ever so slightly as he overlaid the dimensions with known aircraft specifications. "It matches," Jessica whispered, her voice hushed with awe. Flight AE-17. The name hung heavy in the air between them, a ghost from the past. Every Alaskan researcher knew about Flight AE-17, the passenger plane that had vanished without a trace on Christmas Eve of 1976. 150 souls lost to the unforgiving wilderness, their fate remaining one of aviation's most persistent, heart-wrenching mysteries for 4 long decades. "Get me Thompson at the National Science Foundation," Robert said, his voice surprisingly steady despite the immense gravity of the moment. "And contact Dr. Evelyn Reed at Wildlife Services. We're going to need her expertise." Within days, the simple anomaly investigation transformed into one of the largest recovery missions in Alaskan history. The National Science Foundation fast-tracked their funding request, and the U.S. Air Force offered crucial logistical support. Yet, even as the pieces fell into place, Robert couldn't shake the profound feeling that they were about to uncover something far, far more profound than a simple crash site. Dr. Evelyn Reed arrived at the Anchorage briefing room on a bitter January morning. the wind howling like a banshee outside. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a practical braid. At 62, she was one of the world's leading experts on Alaskan wildlife behavior, with a particular focus on large predators. The room was already packed with specialists, glaciologists, aviation experts, forensic archaeologists, and survival specialists. The site is approximately 80 miles northeast of Anchorage, Robert explained, pointing to a topographical map. We're looking at temperatures averaging 43.6 degrees Fahrenheit and wind speeds up to 40 miles per hour. This won't be easy. Evelyn studied the satellite imagery with intense interest. The ice field's topology is unusual, she noted, her brow furrowed in thought. These patterns here. She traced a series of irregular lines with her finger. They don't follow typical glacial movement. What are you thinking? Robert asked, his voice filled with anticipation. I'm not sure yet, Evelyn replied thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the images. But in my experience, when nature deviates from the expected, there's usually a reason. The team spent the next week in a frenzy of preparation for deployment. 84 tons of specialized equipment were assembled. Thermal drilling units, ground-penetrating radar, mobile laboratory facilities, and enough supplies to sustain a 30-person team for 2 long months. Among the crew was Tom Harrison, a seasoned ice pilot who had flown countless search and rescue missions in Alaska for 25 years. I remember when Flight 107 went down, Tom shared during one of the tense planning sessions, his voice heavy with the weight of past tragedies. I was just a kid, but my dad was part of the original search team. He never got over not finding them. Said the weather that Christmas was the worst he'd ever seen. The convoy set out in early February, a slow procession of heavy-duty vehicles crawling across the frozen, unforgiving landscape. Evelyn rode in the lead vehicle with Robert, her eyes constantly scanning the horizon, a knot of intuition tightening in her stomach. Something about the terrain. It nagged at her scientific instinct, the way the snow drifted, the unusual, almost deliberate patterns in the ice formations. Stop, she called out suddenly, her voice sharp, causing Robert to signal a halt to the convoy. She pointed to a seemingly random patch of snow. See how the surface texture changes there? There's a reason animals aren't crossing this section. Further investigation revealed a dangerous ice cavity, a hidden maw that could have swallowed one of their vehicles whole. Evelyn's keen observation had likely saved lives and equipment. But it also raised a chilling question. How had she spotted it so quickly? Years of studying predator behavior, she explained with a slight, knowing smile. They leave clues if you know how to read them. The team established base camp within 18 grueling hours. A small, temporary city of reinforced tents and portable structures designed to withstand the brutal Arctic conditions. The wreckage site lay less than half a mile away, its presence marked by the barely visible tip of the tail fin, a ghostly sentinel protruding from the ice. It was during the initial survey that they first noticed the bobcat. The animal's presence was unusual enough. While bobcats weren't entirely unknown in Alaska, they typically stayed in more forested regions. This one, a large female, accompanied by 2 nearly grown cubs, seemed completely at ease in the exposed ice field. Remarkable, Evelyn murmured, observing them through powerful binoculars. They're perfectly adapted to these conditions. Look at the size of those paws, much larger than typical bobcat prints. The animals maintained a consistent distance from the camp, neither approaching nor fleeing. More striking was their behavior around the crash site. The mother bobcat would pace certain areas with deliberate, almost ritualistic care, her cubs following precisely in her paw prints. They're avoiding the weak spots in the ice, Evelyn realized, her eyes widening with a dawning understanding. But this goes beyond normal predator awareness. It's almost as if... She didn't complete the thought, but she didn't need to. The entire team had noticed how the bobcat's movements seemed to map out safe passages through the treacherous terrain. The actual recovery operation was painstaking work, a delicate dance with the frozen elements. Engineers deployed thermal elements with surgical precision, careful not to disturb the fragile balance of the ice structure. Every step was calculated, every movement measured. The bobcats remained constant observers, their silent presence becoming so familiar that the team began to refer to them, with a mixture of respect and awe, as the guides. When they finally breached the fuselage, the scene inside stopped everyone in their tracks. The cabin was perfectly preserved, a haunting time capsule of that fateful Christmas Eve in 1976. Magazines lay open on seatback trays, their pages frozen in mid-turn. A flight attendant, her face frozen in a serene expression, stood in the aisle, serving carts still arranged on top, their contents transformed into small, eerie cylindrical blocks of ice. But it was the personal effects that struck the deepest emotional chords. A child's doll with carefully braided yarn hair, a worn wallet containing faded photos of smiling families, letters written but never sent, filled with hopes and dreams tragically cut short. Each item told a story, each possession represented a life interrupted. In the cockpit, they found the captain's logbook, its final entry a terse description of multiple engine failures and rapidly deteriorating weather conditions. More revealing was a flight attendant's diary, recovered from a storage compartment. The entries, spanning 18 agonizing days after the crash, painted a picture of incredible courage and heartbreaking reality. December 25th, 1976. Dawn. If you can even call this dim light dawn. 22 survivors out of 150. The impact was devastating, but the real killer is the cold. So many died in their sleep of that first night. We've gathered in the first-class cabin. It's more intact, easier to heat. Captain Matthews is organizing us, rationing the emergency supplies. Julie, the other surviving flight attendant, keeps trying to make people comfortable. How do you comfort people who've lost everything on Christmas Day? December 27th, 1976. The radio isn't working. No sign of rescue. Captain Matthews says we're at least 100 miles off our last reported position. The storm that brought us down was unlike anything he'd ever seen. It threw all the instruments off. We can hear animals outside sometimes. Strange sounds. Not wolves, something else. December 30th, 1976. Down to 19 now. The cold is unbearable. Julie noticed something odd today. There are tracks in the snow around the plane, but they seem to be keeping other predators away. Captain Matthews thinks we might have crashed in the territory of some large cats. Somehow. That's comforting. January 5th, 1977. Only 12 left. We're out of emergency rations. Julie didn't wake up this morning. The strange thing is, we found fresh kills near the plane. Rabbits, small game, as if something is leaving them for us. Captain Matthews says that's impossible, but we're past believing in impossible things. The diary entries continued, becoming increasingly uncertain about dates, but maintaining a clear, poignant record of events. The final entry was dated January 11th, 1977. I'm the last one now. The others are all gone. But I'm not alone. They're out there. I can see their eyes in the dark. Not threatening, watching, waiting. I understand now why they've stayed close. They're the guardians of this place. They know what it means to survive here, to lose family here. The mother cat brought another rabbit today. I couldn't reach it. Too weak to move now. I think she understood. She sat there in the snow for hours, just watching. I'm not afraid anymore. When the end comes, I won't be alone. Evelyn spent days meticulously analyzing the diary entries against known bobcat behavior patterns. These cats, she explained to Robert one evening, her voice filled with a profound sense of wonder. They're displaying characteristics that go far beyond normal territorial behavior. The diary mentions them bringing food to the crash site. We've documented similar behavior in the present day. She showed him photographs of small animal carcasses found at regular intervals around the excavation area. At first, we assumed they were just abandoned kills. But look at the placement. They're always in inconspicuous locations, always during our meal breaks. The team's wildlife photographers had captured incredible footage of the bobcat's behavior. The mother would often appear at the edge of the work area just before dangerous weather moved in, her posture and movements clearly agitated until the team took shelter. The cubs would mirror her behavior, learning patterns that seemed to be passed down through generations. You're suggesting these are descendants of the same cats mentioned in the diary? Robert asked, skeptical yet utterly intrigued. Bobcats typically live 10 to 12 years in the wild, Evelyn replied. We're looking at 4 or 5 generations. But yes, I believe these cats are the descendants of those that witnessed the crash. And I believe they've inherited not just territory, but behavior. As the excavation progressed, they began finding tangible evidence that supported the diary's accounts. The distribution of supplies and bodies suggested organized survival efforts. Small caches of food were found at regular intervals around the crash site, some still containing preserved remains of small game animals. But the most stunning discovery came 6 weeks into the operation. While meticulously documenting ice core samples, Jessica Chen noticed something truly extraordinary in the layers. These striations, she pointed out to Robert and Evelyn, her voice trembling with excitement. They're not random. Look at the pattern. It's as if something repeatedly traveled the same paths around the crash site year after year, wearing grooves into the ice. Further, painstaking analysis revealed decades of layered tracks, the silent testament to generations of bobcats following the same routes their ancestors had taken. The patterns matched perfectly with the safe passages the current bobcat family used to navigate the treacherous ice field. They've been maintaining a vigil, Evelyn realized, her voice filled with awe and a touch of sadness. For 40 years, they've been protecting this site. The recovery operation concluded in late March. The remains of Flight AE-17's passengers and crew were finally returned to their grieving families, along with the personal effects that had been preserved in the ice for 4 long decades. The diary, now a crucial piece of aviation history, was reverently donated to the Smithsonian Institution. But the story of the bobcats, it captured the public imagination in a way no one could have ever predicted. Wildlife documentaries were filmed, research papers were published, and the site became a point of intense fascination for scientists studying animal behavior and intelligence. Dr. Evelyn Reed devoted the remainder of her distinguished career to studying this incredible phenomenon. She established a small research station near the crash site, meticulously documenting the bobcat's continued presence and unique behavior. The mother and cubs remained even after the noisy excavation equipment was removed, faithfully maintaining their ancestral patterns. 5 years after the initial discovery, Evelyn sat in her small, cozy research station, watching the newest generation of cubs playfully learning the same well-worn paths their ancestors had walked. The mother bobcat, now showing streaks of gray around her muzzle, still made her daily rounds, still brought small symbolic offerings to the simple memorial that had been erected at the site. Robert Miller, now happily semi-retired, had joined her for the anniversary of the recovery. Together, they watched the breathtaking sunset paint the vast expanse of ice in vibrant shades of pink and gold. "You know what I think, Evelyn?" Robert said softly, his voice filled with a quiet wonder. "I think that first mother bobcat recognized something in those survivors. Not just as prey, not just as potential threats, but as living beings, struggling to survive in a harsh, unforgiving world. And somehow, she passed that recognition down through generations." Evelyn nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting the golden light. "An inheritance of compassion. More than that," Robert added, his gaze distant, lost in thought. "A reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're not truly alone." "Those passengers," Evelyn murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "They spent their last days watching these magnificent creatures, perhaps drawing some small comfort from their silent presence. And for 40 years, these incredible cats have kept their vigil, protecting the site, marking the safe passages, leaving their offerings." As if on cue, the mother bobcat appeared at the edge of their view, her playful cubs tumbling behind her in the soft snow. She paused, her intelligent eyes meeting Evelyn's gaze with that same inscrutable expression that had captivated researchers for years. "Some might call it anthropomorphizing, Robert," Evelyn mused, a faint smile gracing her lips. "Seeing human qualities in animal behavior. Or maybe," Robert suggested, his voice gentle, "maybe we're finally recognizing that compassion isn't exclusively human, that in this harsh, beautiful wilderness, all living things are connected by something deeper than science can fully explain." The bobcat then led her cubs along one of their ancestral paths, their paws falling into the grooves worn by generations before them, a silent testament to time and devotion. As they disappeared into the gathering dusk, their forms briefly silhouetted against the vast Arctic sky, Evelyn thought about the final, poignant words in the flight attendant's diary. "I'm not afraid anymore. When the end comes, I won't be alone." In the years that followed, the story of Flight AE-17 and its feline guardians became more than just a tale of tragedy and survival. It became a powerful testament to the mysterious, unbreakable bonds between all living creatures, a profound reminder that even in the most desolate places, compassion can take root and flourish across generations. The bobcats remained, adapting to the ever-changing climate, faithfully teaching each new generation the ancient paths of their ancestors. And on quiet evenings, when the ethereal aurora borealis danced across the sky in shimmering curtains of light, they could still be seen making their silent rounds, eternal guardians of a place where the boundaries between human and animal, between tragedy and hope, had blurred and transformed into something truly extraordinary. Scientists continue to study the site and its unique inhabitants. But some mysteries, like the depth of that initial connection, remain unexplained. And perhaps, Evelyn often thought, That's as it should be. A gentle reminder that in the vast, awe-inspiring wilderness of Alaska, there are still stories that defy our complete understanding, still bonds that transcend our scientific definitions, and still moments of pure grace that can echo through generations, human and animal alike. Today, a simple, dignified plaque stands at the crash site, commemorating not only the 150 souls aboard Flight AE-17 on that fateful Christmas Eve of 1976, but also the remarkable creatures that have watched over them for nearly half a century. It bears a simple yet deeply moving inscription. In memory of the 150 souls aboard Flight AE-17, December 24th, 1976, and in honor of their unexpected guardians, who taught us that compassion knows no bounds and that even in our darkest hours, we are never truly alone. The bobcats still roam their ancestral paths, their silent presence a living memorial to a moment when the divide between human and animal blurred, and something profound and mysterious took root in the ice and snow. Their incredible story continues to inspire researchers, wildlife experts, and visitors from around the world, a constant reminder that in the harsh, breathtaking beauty of the Alaskan wilderness, some bonds transcend time, species, and even death itself. As Dr. Evelyn Reed wrote in her final, deeply insightful research paper before her well-deserved retirement, in studying the bobcats of Flight AE-17, we've learned something truly profound about the very nature of compassion and memory. These magnificent creatures have demonstrated that the capacity for empathy and guardianship isn't limited by species or even the passage of time. They remind us, in our increasingly divided world, that the simple act of recognizing and responding to the suffering of others, regardless of their form, is perhaps the most fundamental and enduring expression of life's interconnectedness. The mother bobcat and her cubs remain, their daily routines a living testament to that profound truth, and in their watchful, knowing eyes, observers still catch fleeting glimpses of something ancient and wise, an extraordinary inheritance of compassion passed down through generations, a legacy that continues to touch and transform all who encounter it. The valuable lesson we can learn from this incredible story is that compassion and empathy are not exclusive to humans. The bobcat's actions demonstrate a deep connection and a profound sense of guardianship that transcends species boundaries, reminding us of the interconnectedness of all life and the enduring power of kindness in the face of tragedy. What are your thoughts on this incredible story? Please share your comments below. We'd also love for you to rate this video on a scale of 1 to 10 and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories from the natural world.